Ok, eu só queria falar aqui de... É um pequeno vídeo que eu só queria falar sobre... Eu queria falar sobre aquela imagem do miúdo e do pai que se afogaram na fronteira com o México, entre os Estados Unidos da América e o México, e dizer que a nossa televisão portuguesa, seja SIC, TNI, RTP, é só propaganda. Propaganda de extrema esquerda. Porque a culpa é do pai e do miúdo, não das sistemas da fronteira, do coisa da fronteira. Como vocês sabem, os Estados Unidos da América era bastante invadida pelo norte da África e Sub-Saara, África e Médio Oriente. A América tem estado a ser invadida pelo México, Guatemala e Colômbia e Venezuela. Está a ser invadida pela Venezuela, que, como vocês sabem, é espetacular. Está a viver um espetacular sonho da extrema esquerda e da esquerda. Estava um bocado o estupor daquele do ex-líder do Bloco de Esquerda, né? Lá num partido que recebe toneladas de dinheiro do Jorge Soros e que dá dinheiro a organizações terroristas como a Antifa Portugal e a SOS Racismo Portugal. Estavam a dizer que a culpa era do pai. Que a culpa era da América e do Trump e não do pai. A culpa é do pai. E eventualmente também da criança. Porque a criança é que comprou isso, não queria. Vamos dar um exemplo. Imaginem como um pai de uma criança, ou uma mãe de uma criança, decide ir de canoa e decide fazer... E é avisado que se for de canoa com o filho, há um risco de acidentalmente matar o filho. Não é? E não tem os devidos cuidados, não leva o colete, aquela coisa toda. E acontece um acidente e a criança morre. De quem é a culpa? É óbvio que é do pai, não é? Não é dos donos do rio ou da... O que acontece foi assim, com o Alabama, passou-se uma lei em que quando alguém levava crianças, primeiro coisa, nós nem sabemos se a criança e o pai e o suposto pai e a criança são familiares sequer. Mais de 4 quintos das crianças acompanhadas por adultos que vão para a fronteira, não são, o adulto e a criança não são relacionados. Primeira coisa. Há um vídeo aqui do James, que ilustra bem o que eu estou a tentar dizer. Ilustra bem o que eu estou a tentar dizer. Mas antes de começar, deixem-me só explicar aqui uma coisa. Imaginem que alguém assalta a vossa casa e durante o assalto, ao partir o vidro, cortam-se. E segundo a lógica da esquerda, por causa de ele ter cortado a partir do vidro da janela a tentar assaltar a vossa casa, ele tem agora o direito a viver na vossa casa, tem direito a receber pensões e subsídios gratuitos e tem direito a cuidados de saúde gratuitos só porque ao assaltar a vossa casa Cortou-se. Pronto. Primeiro, antes de mais, eu queria mostrar aqui uma coisa. O que é que nós estamos a falar exatamente? Caravana. É isto que nós estamos a falar.
It finally happened. The caravan has arrived.
Como estava a falar, uma coisa que eu estava aqui, a culpa disto tudo é do Obama, do Bush e do Bill Clinton. O que aconteceu é que passaram uma política de se uma pessoa vier, se um imigrante ilegal vier acompanhado por crianças, a maior parte das vezes deixarem esperar pelo julgamento, em liberdade. Claro que nunca mais voltam aos tribunais e depois ficam espalhados pela América e nunca mais voltam aos tribunais e depois nunca mais são expulsos se não tiverem direito ao devido ao asilo, que nenhum deles tem direito ao asilo, porque não há nenhum país na América, nos continentes americanos, na América Norte, Sul e Centro, que esteja em guerra. Por isso, nenhum deles tem direito a asilo. Nenhum. E então fizeram uma lei que, se estiverem acompanhados por crianças, não têm que esperar em julgamento em prisão, podem esperar podem esperar em liberdade. Claro que nunca mais a voltam e depois há aquela quantidade enorme de imigrantes ilegais. E antes de mais eu queria mostrar mais uma. Então vamos mostrar o que é das caravanas.
It finally happened. The caravan has arrived. Instead of D-Day, we have C-Day. And instead of brave American soldiers washing up on our shores, we have women in tight spandex t-shirts and 7-year-olds in diapers. What's up, everybody? Today, obviously, we're going to talk about the migrant caravan. But perhaps I should clarify. We're going to talk about the first and biggest migrant caravan, not one of the 2 or 3 others that are following in its wake. The caravan of migrants that the media claims are fleeing violence and persecution in their home countries has finally washed up on the American border. On Sunday, hundreds of Central American migrants, most of them young men from extremely violent countries like Honduras and El Salvador, made a rush for the U.S. border and attempted to break through the barrier between San Diego and Tijuana. They succeeded in creating a hole in the border fence and attempted to rush through, which begs the question, do we really want people in our country whose first act in our country was breaking our immigration laws and destroying our border fencing? Rocks and projectiles were being thrown at U.S. Border Patrol agents. The border was being rushed, so thankfully the Border Patrol stepped in and intervened. Border Patrol agents used tear gas, the same kind of stuff used in domestic police operations, to disperse the crowd. With the fence being rushed, the border being broken through, a hole in the border fence, I'm not sure what people would have preferred the Border Patrol agents do, in this case, to prevent an invasion from occurring. As far as non-lethal methods go, tear gas was probably the best option. I suppose, though, if the media would have preferred, Border Patrol agents could have used live ammunition. But of course, this totally rational, normal, reasonable response by Border Patrol agents is causing the left and the media to collectively lose their minds. Blormph is gassing women and children, cried the Washington Post. This is another Holocaust, another Shoah, cried Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. In reality, of course, it was none of these things. By rushing the border and attempting to invade the U.S., these people actually did a great thing. They proved proved what many of us have been saying for the longest time, that many of these people are violent invaders that have no place in America, and they actually gave Trump political cover to take action. Additionally, their behavior is causing them to become increasingly unwelcome in Mexico, which is leading the Mexicans to increase their deportations of these caravaneers before they ever even reach the US-Mexico border. We'll talk today about how the media and the left are treating this story, and how they are desperately trying to twist it and spin it around so it's a negative story about Trump. We'll talk about the hypocrisy of the media and many members of the American public about when it is and when it isn't okay for a nation or a people to defend their border. Borders for some, but not for others. And we'll talk about what should be learned from Sunday's events, and policy options that I desperately hope President Trump pursues. Like many people have said, if this country is going to get serious about immigration, the window is quickly closing. This is going to be a video full of information and primary sources that you can use when you're having conversations about this to help you push back on the media and the left's narrative. But first, a gift idea for you, your family, and friends this Christmas. We often associate Christmas with shiny things. Tinsel, glitter, glimmering candles, glossy wrapping paper, and glittering snow are all part of Christmas time. The fact that you don't see them every day makes you appreciate them, and the Christmas season, that much more. But then, like Christmas, they've come and gone. Something shiny that won't be gone once Christmas is over is Noble Gold's solid silver Trump 2020 Freedom Coin. You've probably seen the website, trumpcoin2020.com. Since they minted these back in July, Noble Gold have sold thousands of these beautiful coins, as collector's items for investment.
Falar em Trump, a Trump tem feito muito pouca coisa e tem sido uma desilusão neste aspecto. Ter feito praticamente nada. E sugiro que quem quiser ajudar a América e depois eventualmente se funcionar na América fazemos também em Portugal, eu sugiro este site. Sugiro este site. E também sugiro este site da já agora também, se quiserem ajudar, se quiserem fazer a diferença e se puderem, claro. Mas mais importante de todos é este. Por 100 euros, que é um bocado, eu percebo, por 100 euros podem por 100 euros podem, por 1000 euros podem meter um placar, podem meter o vosso nome. Eu já fiz. Vais dar o vosso nome na porta. Se estiverem interessados, claro. Mas o Trump até tem sido uma grande desilusão, tanto na ONU como deportar a maioria dos ilegais, como acabar com o nacionalidade por birthright.
And even to add to IRA and 401k rollovers. That's right, because these are 0.99% fine silver, the IRS even allows them to be included in your retirement fund. How about that? Of course, there is a Christmas special offer on right now. To find out what it is and how you can get a hold of a very special gift for your favorite Trump supporter, go to trumpcoin2020.com and put in James as the promo code to receive free shipping if you buy 3 coins or more. Don't wait for the special offer to end. Go to trumpcoin2020.com and don't forget the offer code James and find out how you can shine this Christmas. Okay, so let's begin begin with the facts of the situation. The size of the caravan has changed over time. It's gotten bigger, it's gotten smaller, and at one point it was as large as 14,000 migrants. But now, according to most estimates, the caravan is approximately 7,000 or 8,000 people strong. The media
7.200 pessoas numa só vez. Já imaginaram isso? Isso é uma invasão. Antigamente, quando um país queria invadir outro país, tinha que gastar dinheiro, gastar em vidas, gastar dinheiro nas fadas, tudo mais. Hoje em dia, para invadir, basta descarregar, para uma descarga assim enorme de imigrantes ilegais.
is labeling these people as asylum seekers, people coming to seek refuge from their horrible, violent country, which, by the way, you are not allowed to call a blank hole, and seek refuge in the beautiful, wonderful US of A. But of course, as we talked about in my previous video about this caravan, the vast majority of these people are not refugees at all. They're not asylum seekers at all. They're simply economic migrants. They're economic migrants, most of whom want to come to America, work under the table, and lower wages for Americans. Most of the jobs they would be doing are manual labor, and the demand for manual labor is falling as the economy becomes increasingly automated, and entire sectors of the economy become automated. We don't need more manual laborers. We need more robots. In fact, if we had fewer manual laborers, that would incentivize companies to pay those workers more, which would also act as an incentive for them to invest in automation. Additionally, the idea that they're seeking asylum and refuge is just patently false. Asylum is designed to protect people who are facing political persecution in their country. These people, by their own admission, are coming to the US to seek jobs. They're fleeing their countries because of what the left is calling economic insecurity. Sorry, the fact that you live in a poor, blank hole country does not entitle you to come live in my country. Unemployment is not persecution, and the fact that your country is full of bad people who build garbage governments and like to kill each other, yeah, that's not my problem. Because what happens when you bring in large amounts of people from the third world is that you eventually become the third world. People emulate the cultures, practices, and conditions they're familiar with, and they end up bringing their problems with them. MS-13, one of the most dangerous and violent gangs in the country, if not the world, responsible for widespread killings and child prostitution. Guess who founded it? If you guessed El Salvadoran immigrants that came to LA and brought their problems with them, you would be right. So when we express concern about mysterious people we don't know coming into our country and pretending to be refugees, it's entirely reasonable. Additionally, even if these people weren't potential criminals and weren't potentially violent, we still don't need them. They belong in their own countries. And if their countries are bad, well, how do we expect those countries to ever get better if all of their
É uma coisa que eu estou a dizer. Além de estarem a roubar empregos aqui em Portugal, a imigração, os clubes estão a roubar emprego aqui em Portugal e oportunidades e a identidade de Portugal, para além disso estão a roubar boa mão de obra, pessoas que podiam melhorar de alguma maneira os países de origem desses imigrantes, não é? No fundo estamos a roubar um recurso, que são estas pessoas. Se elas são assim tão boas e fantásticas que nós até ficamos a ganhar por tê-las, então estamos a roubá-las de países que precisam mais do que nós.
Supposed good people are leaving every generation and coming to the United States. We are contributing to a situation where these countries stay bad forever and never improve because all of the good people are constantly leaving. Oh, and by the way, how do we know that these people in this caravan will not be eligible for asylum? First of all, statistics. Historically, fewer than 10% of people from Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador that claim asylum end up actually being eligible for it. Additionally, they have already refused asylum from safe countries, including Mexico. They're coming to the US to be reunited with their families after previous deportations, or to go get a job, neither of which are conditions that qualify you for asylum. Plus, the asylum system is fraught with fraud and abuse. Just last week, an attorney from New York was convicted of asylum fraud after running a scheme where she lied about alleged persecution on 180 migrants' applications for asylum. But not only do we have the data, we also have their own words. I'll include links to several examples below of interviews with these caravan migrants where they discuss the fact that they're coming to the US not to flee persecution, but to go get a job or seek out a better life. My personal favorite is this guy, Ramon Izaguirre, a previously deported illegal alien, who says the following, quote, "All my life is there, waiting for me. I miss my PlayStation. I miss Buffalo Wild Wings. I miss my car." Sorry, but access to Buffalo Wild Wings is not a universal human right. Alright, so that's some background on the caravan itself. Let's talk now specifically about what happened on November 25th. According to the media, Blonard Glorf, Orange Cheetah racist man, personally ordered the gassings of 6 Gorillian Mexican migrant children, epic libtard Hitler style. How do you know a journalist is lying? he's typing on his keyboard. In this case, the situation played out pretty much how I described earlier. Border Patrol used tear gas to defend the border against the 100 or so migrants that were attempting to illegally and forcefully gain access to the country. If you illegally and forcefully try to enter someone's home, you can't be surprised when they use force to defend it. That same principle applies here, and luckily for these migrants, the force was not lethal. The media and the left are, predictably, making a massive deal about tear gas being deployed near children. You must be a Nazi if you think gassing women and children is even remotely okay. Assad did it. Hitler did it. We're gonna find out who gave the order. Nothing says, we gas immigrant children like blood-red Christmas trees. These children are barefoot, in diapers, choking on tear gas. A little girl from Honduras stares into the camera, her young features contorted in anguish. She's barefoot, dusty, and clad only in a diaper and t-shirt, and she's just had to run from clouds of choking tear gas fired across the border by U.S. agents. Yes, if you believe the media accounts, President Trump is the man in the high castle personally ordering these gassings on the border. Thanks to democracy, the people who believe that have the same vote you do. Remember that. In America, if you have a child and you take that child and put them in a dangerous situation, you can be arrested for child endangerment. If I took my kid to a protest where I knew that violence may occur and I knew there was a possibility of force being used against me and my child, I wouldn't just be an irresponsible parent. I would be a criminal guilty of child endangerment. That's the legal standard here, but oh no, it's a completely different set of rules for this lady and her Frozen t-shirt and her Elsa kids. She dragged her kids to a border clash, an attempted invasion of a sovereign country, and now she has the gall to complain that her and her kids were somehow caught up in it. No, you knew the risks. You knew that President Trump and the United States government had repeatedly said over the past few months that no one will be allowed to illegally cross our border. You knew about the policy requiring asylum seekers to seek out asylum and apply for asylum at designated ports of entry, but you still tried to go to a fence crossing that was not at a designated port of entry anyways. You chose to break the rules. You chose to be a part of the invasion caravan, and it's because of you, mother of these two kids, that your children were exposed to tear gas. It's not the US's fault, it's not the Border Patrol's fault, it's not Trump's fault. It's your fault. You're the one that dragged them out there in diapers, which is weird considering that one girl looks 5, 6, or 7 years old. Strange. But you're the one who dragged them out into what you knew would be a line of fire. I've seen some conservatives try to justify this and explain it away by saying that, oh no, it's okay because Obama used tear gas on the border too. No, that's a bad line of argument. You're conceding to the left's premise that the use of tear gas was somehow immoral, and you're saying it's okay because Obama did it. Remember, Obama is entirely a non-factor at this point. You win this argument not by shifting the blame to Barack Obama, because then you're agreeing that the use of tear gas was a negative thing, and you're blaming Obama for setting the precedent. You're still admitting that Trump shouldn't have used the tear gas. It's a bad way to frame the argument. You win this argument by shifting the blame.
Nisso, a todos os efeitos, independentemente dos Estados Unidos dizem com Donald Trump ou não, Donald Trump é 1 trilhão de vezes melhor, por isso eu também espero 1 trilhão de vezes mais. Por isso, argumento dizer, porque o Obama fez não é bom argumento.
To the rightful owner, the migrants and the mother in this case. If they had not tried to break our rules, these children would have never been exposed to tear gas. It's that simple. Now, let's talk about the total hypocrisy when it comes to border defense. This week, a man named John Allen Chau, an American missionary, was killed by tribespeople on the remote island of North Sentinel in the Indian Ocean. He was killed by the tribespeople while visiting the island attempting to preach Christianity to them. And all of a sudden, people everywhere became deeply invested in the idea of defending one's country and homeland. You know what? I like this meme. No, I love this meme. I love this logical process. Let's try applying the same standard to Maria and her tag-along kids she dragged into a war zone. You wouldn't like that very much, would you, leftists? If you're a Christian American missionary and you suffer from making bad decisions, it's your fault, and you should have known the consequences. But if you're a third worlder that wants to invade America, and you're warned repeatedly and publicly by the most powerful man in the most powerful nation over the course of 2 months, and you try to break into our country anyways, and you suffer the consequences, that's somehow Orange Man's fault. So how can Trump fix this? Well, obviously, we need a border wall. If these people can make holes in the concertina wire and slip through, let's give them something they can't just cut through with a pair of $5 wire cutters. Trump needs to get the wall funded in this December session of Congress. It's really non-negotiable. If he waits until the next Congress takes over, the Democrat-controlled Congress, there is no way, none, that he gets it funded before 2020. And who knows how many voters will stay home in 2020 because of the lack of progress. That will go a long talking about decades or maybe even hundreds of years here, but
primeiro vamos dar a ilha Sentinel, depois vamos. Eu tenho que ver.
Richard and Ben have spent an uneasy night on the edge of an Indian settlement, expecting a possible attack from an isolated Indian tribe. It's now morning. There's no sign of intrusion, and everyone is safe at the Campa village. But downriver, Morais was attacked.
Naquele garapé tem uma volta, tem barranco alto.
There was a high bank.
Essa flecha aqui, a primeira flecha.
This was the first arrow they fired from the bank.
Entrou atrás do Chicão. Alguém passa lá pra...
Não é, Sentinela fica na ilha Sentinela.
Now, an American tourist identified as John Allen Chow, 27 years old, was reportedly killed by the tribes of Sentinelese community at North Sentinel Island in Andaman Nicobar. In fact, an FIR has been filed in Chennai by the US consulate regarding an American tourist. Unfortunate news coming in there. In fact, at this
15th of this forward by them, and that's
This video was made possible by Audible. Get a free audiobook from Audible exclusively by going to audible.com/reallifelore. So this island here is North Sentinel Island, and you're not allowed to visit it. There's a few reasons why, but first it's important to know that North Sentinel Island is part of the Greater Andaman Islands, which are in the middle of the Bay of Bengal, roughly 1,300 kilometers away from India and 300 kilometers away from Myanmar. Myanmar, except for this tiny bit here, the by going to audible.com/reallifelore. So this island here is North Sentinel Island, and you're not allowed to visit it. There's a few reasons why, but first it's important to know that North Sentinel Island is part of the Greater Andaman Islands, which are in the middle of the Bay of Bengal, roughly 1,300 kilometers away from India and 300 kilometers away from Myanmar. Except for this tiny bit here, the rest of the islands are governed by India, and that includes North Sentinel Island right here. The people who inhabit the island are known as the Sentinelese, and even though their island is technically a part of India, they've probably never even heard of India, or anywhere else for that matter. You see, the Sentinelese are one of the very last remaining groups of people on Earth that have remained virtually untouched and uncontacted from modern civilization. They live a hunter-gatherer lifestyle, surviving from fishing, hunting, and gathering
aquilo que se pode chamar Sub-Saharan African, ou pessoas do grupo 3.
plants, similar to how all of our ancestors lived tens of thousands of years ago in the Paleolithic era. If the real
De alguma maneira, acidentalmente, em vez de ser como os asiáticos, né, que havia os asiáticos da América Oriental que vieram ao contrário dos europeus e dos asiáticos do Oriente, somente do Oriente, que vieram por, não é, saíram os antepassados saíram da África pelo que agora é o Egito, e depois separaram-se onde é mais ou menos a Turquia. Uns separaram-se e foram para a Europa, outros separaram-se e foram para o centro da Ásia e formaram-se orientais, os outros formaram uns foram para o centro da Ásia, que depois por sua vez separaram-se e deram depois os nativos americanos subindo, não é, fazendo aqui este caminho. Fizeram este caminho, não é? Não é? Separaram-se. Aqui mais um. Deixa eu ver ver se consigo. Aqui. Não, tá assim. Okay. Vieram por aqui, por o que é agora a atual vieram e uns separaram. Depois vieram por aqui. E aqui uns separaram e foram para o centro. Vieram por aqui, mais ou menos. Separaram-se, vieram assim por aqui. E uns separaram-se e foram para o Cáucaso. Daí que vem o termo caucasiano. E deram os europeus e os russos por aí diante. Certo? Ok. E os outros continuaram. Foram para aqui, para mais ou menos para aqui, para a zona da Mongólia. Onde separaram e formaram-se os asiáticos orientais. E os outros também separaram-se aqui. Subiram e entraram aqui pela América, e deram os nativos americanos. Okay. No entanto, há algumas exceções em que um grupo esquisito desceu desceram, foram por aqui, não deixaram descendentes nenhums aqui, os descendentes morreram todos, por isso não deixaram vestígios, foram por aqui, aqui. Houve um grupo esquisito que decidiu ir, em vez de fazer aquele caminho que eu expliquei, vir por aqui, ir aqui à Índia e depois andarem aqui por aqui. E é por isso que os os indianos são assim um bocadinho escuros. Vieram por aqui, fizeram assim o caminho e vieram para aqui. Entretanto, as tribos que foram ficando por aqui foram morrendo, desaparecendo, e por isso a ligação entre os que ficaram aqui e os que vieram aqui desapareceu completamente. Mas isto agora não interessa, era só um pequeno detalhe.
The world was like a game of Civilization 5, then the Sentinelese would not have even discovered agriculture yet, which is the very first tech that you research in the game. They also have still not discovered a way of producing fire, so they've been pretty isolated from the rest of human history and culture for untold thousands of years. The strange thing about this society, though, is how close it exists to the modern world. The island is only 50 kilometers away from Port Blair, a modern city home to over 100,000 people with an international airport that you research in the game. They also have still not discovered a way of producing fire, so they've been pretty isolated from the rest of human history and culture for untold thousands of years. The strange thing about this society, though, is how close it exists to the modern world. The island is only 50 kilometers away from Port Blair, a modern city home to over 100,000 people with an international airport, a major naval base used by the Indian Navy, and the seat of government for the Andaman and Nicobar Islands territory. The way this situation came to be is rather interesting. The first known contact between the Sentinelese and the outside world wasn't until the year 1867. In that year, an Indian merchant ship crashed on a reef near the island. The crew escaped to the beach and were attacked by the locals who were seeing. Strange thing about this society, though, the island are known as the Sentinelese, and even though their island is technically a part of India, they've probably never even heard of India, or anywhere else for that matter. You see, the Sentinelese are one of the very last remaining groups of people on Earth that have remained virtually untouched and uncontacted from modern civilization. They live a hunter-gatherer lifestyle, surviving from fishing, hunting, and gathering plants, similar to how all of our ancestors lived tens of thousands of years ago in the Paleolithic era. If the real world was like a game of Civilization 5, then the Sentinelese would not have even discovered agriculture yet, which is the very first tech that you research in the game. They also have still not discovered a way of producing fire, so they've been pretty isolated from the rest of human history and culture for untold thousands of years. The strange thing about this society, though, is how close it exists to the modern world. The island is only 50 kilometers away from Port Blair, a modern city home to over 100,000 people with an international airport, a major naval base used by the Indian Navy, and the seat of government for the Andaman and Nicobar Islands territory. The way this situation came to be is rather interesting. The first known contact between the Sentinelese and the outside world wasn't until the year 1867. In that year, an Indian merchant ship crashed on a reef near the island. The crew escaped to the beach and were attacked by the locals who were seeing the first other humans in their entire civilization's history. They survived when another passing ship rescued them, and periodic contacts were made by the British until 1887. From then on, nobody from the outside world managed to make contact with them again until in 1970, when the Indian government sent a group of anthropologists who spotted them on the beach. Tragedy struck in 1974 when a National Geographic team went to the island to shoot a documentary and got attacked by volleys of arrows as their boat got too near the beach. The director was struck by an arrow in his thigh, and the crew retreated afterwards. In 1981, a ship wrecked itself on the north side of the island, which can still be seen there today on Google Maps. They radioed for urgent help after they spotted the Sentinelese building boats on the beach armed with javelins and arrows, but help didn't come for 2 weeks. Eventually, they were all rescued by helicopter, and the first actual peaceful contact between them and the outside world finally occurred in 1991 with a group of Indian anthropologists. But the Indian government decided to stop any further expeditions to the island in 1997 out of fear of introducing diseases that the Sentinelese would have no immunities against, like what happened in a few other places around the world previously to this, and just because the risk of getting attacked by them was considered too great. They survived the Indian Ocean tsunami in 2004 after a helicopter sent to check up on them was warned away by a warrior with a bow. And ultimate tragedy struck in the year 2006 when 2 fishermen who were illegally fishing in the waters near the island fell asleep and had their boat drift just a little too close to the beach. Sentinelese archers killed the men, and when a helicopter came to recover their bodies, it was also attacked by a volley of arrows and driven away. In the aftermath of these incidents, the Indian government has banned all travel to the island and declared a 3-mile exclusion zone around it, which is enforced by their navy. That is the reason why you'll probably never get to set foot on this island. And even if you could, you probably wouldn't even want to. The latest Indian census of the island tried to estimate their population and calculated it to be around 40, but other estimates place the true population somewhere between 50 and 400 people. Whatever the number, the last people from the outside world that visited the island was in 2006, and neither lived to talk about it. But imagine what the perspective of these islanders must be like. When that ship crashed on the island back in 1981, it may have accidentally kickstarted the Iron Age for their civilization, as they have been observed to be scavenging the wreckage for iron that they now use in their arrow tips. To them, their island is their universe, and the outside world is as far away as the stars and space are to our civilization. We are their aliens with incomprehensible technology and languages, and we have much to learn from how they've reacted to us so far. We can't say for certain once you try out your 00500.
Go check it out. How about
Pronto, eu só estava a dizer que a culpa era do Donald Trump e dos Estados Unidos da América. Eu já disse, Donald Trump tem feito muito pouca coisa, como eu já tenho dito. E eu estou muito iludido com o Donald Trump, praticamente não tem feito nada. E Donald Trump, junto com o Salvini e com Tony Robbins, eram as grandes armas que eu tinha contra o globalismo, mas não sei, vamos ver. Estava a dizer que a culpa era do Louçã, que agora não está aqui a imagem, do Bloco Esquerdo. Não sei muito bem porque é que o Bloco Esquerdo, especialmente o Louçã, é tão a favor destes grupos. Porque este tipo de pessoas tende a votar tem uma tendência a votar mais na esquerda do que na direita, por causa das coisas grátis que a esquerda supostamente dá, grátis para eles, mas bem pago para nós. Nós temos que pagar depois então vai explicar melhor. Mas a culpa é do pai e talvez da criança, que infelizmente é aquilo que se pode chamar um cúmplice involuntário.
this? I'm gonna break into your home, and then as I'm breaking in, when I cut my arm on the glass, on the window glass, I'm gonna turn around and sue you for damages. And then after I sue you and win, I'm going to demand the right that me and my cowboy homies get the right to live in your home forever, throwing cowboy liquor, tequila, cigarettes inside parties. And while we live there, you're gonna have to pay all the bills because we have a media and academia complex run by dual citizens that have you convinced that you, as the homeowner, are oppressing my friends and I. And this is the only way to seek penance. You're the bad guy. Your house is evil. Now, make way and let my friends and I all move into your home. Make room in your bed, big boy. Come on, I can still say that. It's still Pride Month. When somebody experiments with liquor and drugs and drinking and driving and kills themselves in a car wreck, there's an understanding among all sane, rational adults that their trouble was self-inflicted. You chose to imbibe the 12 Mick Ultras and get behind the wheel, so your Toyota Corolla becoming one flesh with the wall of that tunnel is sort of the consequence for your choice. Likewise, the dude who rides his motorcycle at 120 miles an hour, it's usually the same guy who choreographs his motorcycle color to his riding jacket, to his chaps, to his helmet. You all know the guy I'm talking about. The guy who swerves in and out of traffic, tailgates trucks. I'm not super bothered when his motorcycle becomes part of the undercarriage of a 16-wheeler.
Shut the fuck up! You want your fucking ass beat right now, bitch?
I'm not exactly moved to tears, right? Stupid games, stupid prizes. Today we're going to be talking about the sensational coverage, the breathless reporting, the enraptured despondence and impotent rage radiating from the halls of American journalism. The coverage I'm referring to is in reference to this image, which I've blurred here to meet all of YouTube's...
E outra coisa, eles usam essa imagem como forma de chantagem emocional e de chantagem e de manipulação emocional. Porque não tiveram problema nenhum de esconder a fotografia quando foi a criança que morreu nos atentados de Nice. Ou tentaram banir todas as imagens que existiam do atentado de Manchester. Mas agora que lhes dá jeito, que a imprensa de extrema esquerda, que é o que é? A imprensa é de extrema esquerda. Dá-lhe jeito esta imagem para as suas coisas, já não tem esse problema de mostrar. Não é? É que foi para aquela criança que morreu naquela praia de Sicília, que a culpa foi do pai. Foi o pai que literalmente atirou do bar e disse: alguém disse, não pode entrar com esta criança aqui na Europa. E então, atirou e lá e depois não tiveram problema em mostrar, mas quando foi a criança mas quando são as crianças de Manchester ou aquela vítima de Nice, eu não sei qual é a imagem que eu estou a falar. Kid in Nice. É esta imagem que eu estou a falar, não é? Que tudo tapadinho para não subir o corpo, para não... Depois continuando.
Penance. You're the bad guy. Your house is evil. Now, make way and let my friends and I all move into your home. Make room in your bed, big boy. Come on, I can still say that. It's still Pride Month. When somebody experiments with liquor and drugs and drinking and driving and kills themselves in a car wreck, there's an understanding among all sane, rational adults that their trouble was self-inflicted. You chose to imbibe the 12 Mick Ultras and get behind the wheel, so your Toyota Corolla becoming one flesh with the wall of that tunnel is sort of the consequence for your choice. Likewise, the dude who rides his motorcycle at 120 miles an hour, it's usually the same guy who choreographs his motorcycle color to his riding jacket, to his chaps, to his helmet. You all know the guy I'm talking about. The guy who swerves in and out of traffic, tailgates trucks. I'm not super bothered when his motorcycle becomes part of the undercarriage of a 16-wheeler.
Shut the fuck up! You want your fucking ass beat right now, bitch?
I'm not exactly moved to tears, right? Stupid games, stupid prizes. Today we're going to be talking about the sensational coverage, the breathless reporting, the enraptured despondence and impotent... Becoming one flesh with the wall of that tunnel is sort of the consequence for your choice. Likewise, the dude who rides his motorcycle at 120 miles an hour, it's usually the same guy who choreographs his motorcycle color to his riding jacket, to his chaps, to his helmet. You all know the guy I'm talking about. The guy who swerves in and out of traffic, tailgates trucks. I'm not super bothered when his motorcycle becomes part of the undercarriage of a 16-wheeler.
Shut the fuck up! You want your fucking ass beat right now, bitch?
I'm not exactly moved to tears, right? Stupid games, stupid prizes. Today we're going to be talking about the sensational coverage, the breathless reporting, the enraptured despondence, and impotent rage into your home. Make room in your bed, big boy. Come on, I can still say that. It's still Pride Month. When somebody experiments with liquor and drugs and drinking and driving and kills themselves in a car wreck, there's an understanding among all sane, rational adults that their trouble was self-inflicted. You chose to imbibe the 12 Mick Ultras and get behind the wheel, so your Toyota Corolla becoming one flesh with the wall of that tunnel is sort of the consequence for your choice. Likewise, the dude who rides his motorcycle at 120 miles an hour, it's usually the same guy who choreographs his motorcycle color to his riding jacket, to his chaps, to his helmet. You all know the guy I'm talking about. The guy who swerves in and out of traffic, tailgates trucks. I'm not super bothered when his motorcycle becomes part of the undercarriage of a 16-wheeler.
Shut the fuck up! You want your fucking ass beat right now, bitch?
I'm not exactly moved to tears, right? Stupid games, stupid prizes. Today we're going to be talking about the sensational coverage, the breathless reporting, the enraptured despondence, and impotent rage radiating from the halls of American journalism. The coverage I'm referring to is in reference to this image, which I've blurred here to meet all of YouTube's content requirements, but you know the one I'm talking about if you've been watching any news at all in the last few days. For the uninitiated, this week, a migrant father and alleged daughter were found dead after drowning while trying to cross illegally into the United States. Media outlets will cry SeaWorld-sized tanks of crocodile tears over the fate of illegal immigrants that lose their lives while trying to come to the US. And yes, it is sad, we never want to see anybody lose their lives. However, I do find it interesting.
Não esqueça dizer se o pai, se o suposto pai e esse suposto filho ou filha são mesmo relacionados, porque eu já disse, mais de 4/5 das pessoas que aparecem crianças com adultos aparecem na fronteira não são relacionados. O que acontece é que existe um mercado em que os pais literalmente vendem os filhos para diz duas coisas. As crianças são raptadas por gangues para ser usadas exatamente por isso, por causa da tal história de que se durante o tempo do Obama fossem acompanhados por crianças é deixado entrar na América e esperar pelo julgamento em liberdade. Outro caso acontece é que às vezes os próprios pais vendem os filhos. No México isso acontece também muito. Vendem os filhos vendem os filhos a estas pessoas que querem ir para a fronteira para fazer passar por filhos.
To say the least, that these same media outlets will refuse to cover the thousands of victims killed every year right here in the United States. The thousands of American victims of illegal alien murderers, drug traffickers, and drunk drivers. The people you see breathlessly talking about this in the media, they don't really care about people losing their lives. They don't care about families, they don't care about children. I mean, more often than not, these are the same people that celebrate the destruction of the American family and the slaughter of the unborn. They're pretending like millions of Americans aren't being victimized physically physically, socially, and economically because of illegal immigration. They don't care about the people. They're using them as political pawns. Through storytelling and creative thinking, we will dispel the myths and controversy surrounding this story in today's video. We'll talk about the very easy overnight solution that would end the suffering at the border, that would end the suffering of the migrants trying to cross into the US, and would put an end to a lot of suffering for Americans as well. But first, they cannot protect you from your high school friends posting caved-in head takes on Facebook about how these migrants wouldn't have drowned if it weren't for evil Donald, racist blurf man, evil orange man bad, but they can protect you from internet-based threats, privacy concerns, and loss of online security. It's my key performance VPNs in the world to use, one of the fastest cross. It's illegal, you're gonna get hurt, you're gonna fall in, it's dangerous, but then the brat, you see a river, you think about crossing, but for the special Father's Day 60% off deal. Check it out today. Okay, so you're cruising in your Subaru Brat, you see a river, you think about crossing, but then the police is like, no, don't cross, it's illegal, you're gonna get hurt, you're gonna fall in, it's dangerous, but then this other car is like, oh yeah, cross, no problem, we'll help you out, it's all good. So you're like, well, I want to cross, it's better over there, so you do, and imagine that. You fall in, you get rescued, and taken to safety, well, almost taken to safety. Then you get taken to safety, and then the white car that told you to cross, told you to take the risk, is like, well, you know, it's actually the fault of the police that you fell in. It's actually their fault, they're responsible. In that truly Oscar-worthy performance, who do you blame? The Tesla represents the NGOs and institutions helping these migrants along in their journey to the US. The organization's promising them a better life, telling them all they have to do is make it over the border, and they'll never want for anything. They'll have lawyers to help them stay, doctors, free housing, everything. Just get across the border and it's all waiting for you. We can say
este tipo de coisa devia ser proibido, devia ser ilegal. Estas GMOs deviam ser, se for preciso, devia ser proibido. Por exemplo, aqui em Portugal devia ser proibido. Se for preciso, durante algum tempo, que seja proibido estar na praia. Isto acontece normalmente à noite. Devemos estar na praia a partir na praia, na zona de arrebentação, a partir das 2 da manhã. Se é proibido isso.
it's a matter of personal choice, and ultimately it is, but these magnet organizations have to bear some responsibility too. They're preying on desperate people in bad situations and convincing them to undertake dangerous, often fatal journeys to El Norte. We can also blame the driver of the Subaru Brat for choosing to put himself in a dangerous situation, for knowing the risks ahead of time and putting him and others' safety on the line. So yeah, he's guilty too. You know who bears 0.0%, give or take 0.0% of the guilt here? The police car, representing the United States, that told everybody involved, hey, this is pretty dangerous, you shouldn't be doing this. Let's read the CNN report. Martinez, the man who drowned, arrived along with his wife, young daughter, and a brother at a migrant camp in Matamoros, Mexico on Sunday, hoping for an appointment to receive political asylum from the U.S., Leduc said. Martinez had been working at a cook in a pizzeria, Mamma Mia, while the family lived with her in San Martin, a municipality in central El Salvador just east of the country's capital. His mother, Rosa Ramirez, told reporters at her home in El Salvador on Tuesday. They wanted to have their own home, Ramirez said. That was what motivated them. She said, oh, but these poor refugees, they're escaping turmoil, they're escaping violence, they're escaping political oppression in their home countries, so we have to let them in, right? Well, apparently not. This dude thought that not owning a home was a sufficient condition to getting asylum in the US. Millions of Americans living on the streets, even more millions of young Americans can't afford to start families, let alone buy a home, but this guy thought that him wanting a house was going to be enough to get him asylum to come here?
Eu falei que os impostos são uma das razões porque as pessoas cada vez começam mais tarde as famílias.
Actually, he knew that this claim would be seen as bogus, which is why he risked his life and ultimately lost his life to cross the border illegally instead of waiting for an appointment. The vast majority of asylum applicants to the US do not deserve asylum. Remember, you not having a PlayStation and not being able to eat at Buffalo Wild Wings anytime you choose are not sufficient conditions to getting political asylum and becoming a refugee in the US. According to the Department of Homeland Security, just 12% of requests from El Salvadorans, 11% from Guatemalans and 7.5% from Hondurans are actually granted. The idea that families are coming here together to seek asylum is also pretty bogus too. Between October 2018 and spring of 2019, over 1,000 fake family units were identified by DHS among those caught at the southern border. That's 5 fake families a day using abducted or borrowed children. And those are just among those caught. That's not mentioning the people that get across the border without encountering border agents, or the people that get to ports of entry and pass off their abducted and borrowed children as their own. Back to the CNN piece. Quote, by Sunday, Martinez and his family decided to cross the river out of desperation about 400 meters away from Puerto Mexico International Bridge in Matamoros. DeLuc told CNN, in Espanol, the family arrived at the bridge Sunday, planning to seek asylum, but they were told it was closed and they would have to return the following day. Ports of entry along the border have long been overwhelmed by surging asylum claims, Customs and Border Protection officials have said. But U.S. policies making it harder for those seeking asylum to turn themselves in at ports of entry are pushing more migrants to take deadly risks and cross in more dangerous areas, advocates have said, warning the number of deaths at the border will increase. I have an idea that will conclusively reduce the risk of dying while crossing the border illegally to 0 overnight. I should patent this idea because apparently nobody in these NGOs or in our government has ever considered it. That's not true. Everybody knows we could cut the number of border deaths to 0 if we really wanted to. The problem is, there is no political will to do so, on the left or on the right. The powerful people that control this country don't want to end illegal border crossings, because those illegal border crossings benefit them, whether they're on the political right or the left. Powerful corporations love illegal immigration because it increases the amount of consumers in the US for them to sell products to. It also makes labor cheaper, allowing them to maximize their profits. Republican politicians love legal and illegal immigration because their wealthy donors in big business and finance are the ones profiting the most. And Democrats realize that illegal immigrants and their children will vote approximately 80% for the left. Democrats are more than happy to welcome in the ticket for permanent political power. That leaves us, the American people, the little guys, to deal with the consequences. We're the ones killed by their drunk drivers. Our sons are the ones killed in their gang initiations, and our daughters are the ones brutalized and murdered like Molly Tibbetts, Kate Steinle. The political and media elites don't care about suffering. If they did, you would know the names and stories of every angel mom in this country before you heard the first thing about drowning illegal aliens at the border. The solution, by the way? Close the whole thing off. Turn off the electromagnet of birthright citizenship, free education, and free healthcare that attracts millions of South and Central Americans to cross our borders illegally every single year. End this ridiculous and fraudulent asylum process. Build a border wall and treat our border seriously. Our border should be treated like a military checkpoint, not like a DMV with social workers to help facilitate bringing more people across it. Every calorie of DHS energy should be focused on keeping people out and keeping the country safe, not finding ways and loopholes and means and methods to get more people in. Oh, that's hateful, you're mean, you can't say that, that's terrible, you're just doing this because you're evil and you want to hurt people. No, actually. Closed borders is the most compassionate solution there is. I don't like seeing human suffering at the border. I don't like the fact that the majority of young women and girls that try to cross the border are sexually assaulted or raped. I don't like the fact that people are drowning, people are losing their lives trying to get in. My solution, serious border enforcement, serious immigration enforcement, would put an end to that suffering. If Mr. Martinez knew that he and his family would be deported back to his home country the minute he set foot in the US, he wouldn't have swam across that river. He and his daughter wouldn't have lost their lives for nothing. With closed borders and serious immigration enforcement, everybody wins. The American working class wins by not having our wages driven down and our makes you feel guilty. Their narrative is that these people wouldn't have drowned if evil, mean America had just opened its borders and let in the world. My narrative is they wouldn't have drowned, and this country would not be on the verge of permanent democratic political control if we simply closed the borders. Sometimes the simplest solution is the best one. Now, time to find an alternative venue for my cowboys, cigarettes, liquor, and tequila party. Fellas, I know you're not about
Pronto, eu não queria ter feito este vídeo, mas tive que fazer por causa do estupor do Louçã. Pronto, já fica assim. Depois não caio nas mentiras da mainstream media, dos jornais, da SIC, TVI, RTP, que paga com os nossos impostos. Uma coisa que eu me lembrei é que nós devíamos ter o direito de saber quem é que financia os jornais e os canais de televisão. Pronto, boa noite.